Okay, we are now ready for chapter 12, titled The Effects of Alcohol and Other Drugs on Driving. Alcohol and driving, drinking and driving. Research shows that at least half of all drivers admit to occasionally driving after drinking alcoholic beverages. There are many reasons people drink and drive. Some people are not aware of the dangers. Others enjoy drinking, but ignore the fact that they have to drive home or elsewhere. Whatever your feelings may be about drinking, two things are not open to debate. First, drinking alcohol is illegal in all 50 states for anyone less than 21 years of age. Second, anyone who has been drinking should not drive. The overall picture: if you drink an alcoholic beverage and then drive, you increase the risk of being involved in a traffic crash. Any way you address this issue, drinking and driving is a serious problem. What is the overall picture? Alcohol is involved in nearly half of all motor vehicle related deaths. Each year, approximately 17,000 people, more than 300 per week, die, and more than 1 million are injured in alcohol related crashes. About half of those killed were not the ones who had been drinking. In all, about 3 out of every 10 Americans can expect to be involved in an alcohol related collision at some point in their lives. The odds. Compared to sober drivers, the odds of a 150 pound male over 21 years old being involved in a crash increase with each drink he consumes before he drives. 1 to 2 drinks, chances nearly double. 3 to 4 drinks, chances increase 3 to 7 times. 5 to 6 drinks, chances increase 13 to 20 times. 7 to 8 drinks, chances increase 55 to 85 times. Added risk for young drivers: young people who drink and drive take an even greater chance than older drivers do. First, equal amounts of alcohol will usually affect young people more. More importantly, young people have limited experience in both driving and drinking. This combination of inexperience can easily prove fatal. Even a small amount of alcohol impairs a young driver's newly learned skills. BAC and risk. The greater the blood alcohol concentration, BAC, the greater the risk of being involved in a fatal crash. Young drivers between the ages of 16 and 19 with a BAC of 0.02 to 0.05%, 1 to 2 drinks, are at least 7 times more likely to be killed in a crash than a sober driver of any age. At 0.085%, 3 to 4 drinks, young drivers are 40 times more likely to be killed than a sober driver and 20 times more likely to be killed than a 55-year-old driver at the same BAC level. By 0.12% BAC, 4 to 6 drinks, a 16 to 19-year-old is 90 times as likely to die in a traffic crash as a sober driver. How alcohol affects the body and driving ability. What is alcohol? Alcohol contained in adult beverages is ethanol, a clear, odorless, depressant drug that slows down and impairs the central nervous system. It is quickly and directly absorbed into the bloodstream without being digested. Absorption can be slowed down a little if there is food in the stomach. Eventually, however, all the alcohol consumed is absorbed into the bloodstream. The bloodstream carries alcohol to all parts of the body, and behavior is affected when alcohol reaches the brain. Alcohol in the brain. The first part of the body affected by alcohol is the brain, particularly the part of the brain that allows you to think clearly and make good decisions. Its sedative effects impair judgment in a way that is usually noticed by the drinker. The part of the brain that controls social inhibitions is also affected, causing people to say and do things they normally would not. These effects start with 1 drink. Alcohol and muscle control. The second part of the body affected by alcohol is muscle control. due to small muscles in the eyes being very susceptible to the effects of alcohol. Vision can be significantly affected, even at low alcohol levels. The following table summarizes the effects of alcohol on vision. Type of vision, visual acuity, or sharpness of vision. Alcohol can cause vision to become blurry, making it more difficult to perceive the traffic scene and make good driving decisions. Side or peripheral vision. When sober, most people have 180 degrees of side vision. Even while looking straight ahead, you can detect objects moving at the side. As BAC rises, side vision decreases. Color distinction. Color plays an important role in the highway transportation system. Alcohol reduces your ability to distinguish colors, decreasing your ability to perceive the full traffic scene. Night vision. Alcohol decreases your night vision, reducing your eyes' ability to automatically and quickly regulate the amount of light entering the eyes. Distance judgment. Alcohol decreases your ability to accurately judge distances. Determining how far objects are from your vehicle is a critical driving skill. Focus. The eye is able to change focus rapidly from objects close by to objects far away. Alcohol slows this ability, reducing the ability to see things clearly soon enough to respond properly. Other signs that muscle control has been affected include loss of balance and slurring of speech. Alcohol's impact on behavior. Here are some of the ways in which different numbers of drinks consumed in 1 hour affect a 150-pound male. The beverage in these examples is beer, 12 ounces. After one drink, inhibitions are lowered. A person may be less critical of him or herself or others, and judgment begins to be affected. Coordination may also be affected, BAC of 0.02 to 0.03%. After two drinks, reaction time is slower. A person may appear relaxed and friendly. Reaction times begin to slow, BAC of 0.04 to 0.05%. After three drinks, judgment is not sound. A person will not think clearly and may do or say things that are rude or unreasonable, and reasoning is less reliable. Reaction time slows down, BAC of 0.06 to 0.07%. After four drinks, hearing, speech, vision, and balance are adversely affected. A person may have difficulty pronouncing words as eye muscles become more relaxed. Focusing and tracking becomes more difficult. Although the drinker may not be aware of it, reaction time is greatly slowed, BAC of 0.08 to 0.09%. After five drinks, most behaviors are affected. Body parts do not seem to work together. Speech may be slurred. Performing any task that requires the use of hands and feet is difficult. Walking without stumbling is also difficult, BAC of 0.10 to 0.11%. After 12 drinks, a 150-pound person's BAC is about 0.30. At this level, a coma or deep sleep is not unusual. If there is enough alcohol in the stomach when the person passes out, the alcoholic level will continue to rise. If the BAC reaches 0.4%, the person will be in a deep coma and near death. Amount of alcohol in typical beverages. It does not matter how you get alcohol into your body. You can drink it in any of a variety of different delivery systems, each containing pure alcohol. However, the total amount of alcohol per serving will vary with the type and size of alcoholic beverages consumed. Standard size servings of beer, wine cooler, whiskey, and mixed drinks contain different amounts of alcohol. Beer, which includes malt beverages, is generally served in 12-ounce portions and is approximately 4.8% pure alcohol. If 4.8% of a beer is alcohol, then 12 ounces of beer will have 0.58 ounces of pure alcohol. That is just over one half an ounce. Here's the math. 4.8% times 12 ounces is 0.58 ounces of pure alcohol. Wine. A standard serving of wine is about 4 ounces, yielding approximately 6 glasses of wine per 750 milliliter bottle. On average, wine is about 12% alcohol. If 12% of wine is alcohol, then a 4-ounce glass will have 0.48 ounces of alcohol. That is just under one half an ounce. Math: 0.12% times 4 ounces is 0.48 ounces of pure alcohol. Whiskey. A standard serving of whiskey is 1 ounce. This is referred to as a shot. Whiskey can also be available in larger portions, including a jigger, 1 1/2 ounces, or a double, 2 ounces. As with other liquors, the strength of whiskey is measured using proof. It is easy to compute the percent of alcohol from proof. Proof is simply twice the alcohol percentage. For example, a 100 proof beverage would be 50% alcohol. On average, whiskey is 80 proof, or 40% alcohol. If 40% of whiskey is alcohol, then 1 ounce serving, one shot, will have zero point 0.4 ounces of alcohol. The math: 40% times 1 ounce is zero point 0.4 ounces of pure alcohol. For drinks with multiple alcoholic beverages, mixed drinks, simply compute the amount of pure alcohol for each beverage, add them together to obtain the total amount of pure alcohol for the total drink. Wine cooler. Wine coolers are popular alcoholic drinks for some young people. They are generally served in 12-ounce portions and approximately 5% pure alcohol. If 5% of a wine cooler is alcohol, then a 12-ounce wine cooler will have 0.6 ounces of pure alcohol. That is just over one half an ounce. The math: 5% times 12 ounces is zero point 0.6 ounces of pure alcohol. Surprisingly, the wine cooler tops them all. And if you compare the drinks side by side, the beer contains approximately 45% more alcohol than a shot of whiskey. These computations rise several important points. These computations raise several important points. First, beer is certainly strong enough to intoxicate a drinker. In fact, it is the second strongest beverage in these examples. Second, when you look at the differences among the beverages when you have just one or two drinks, total differences may not be great. However, when a drinker consumes three or more beverages, the differences can become substantial. Thus, what you drink can make a difference in how high your BAC rises. Keep in mind that these computations are based on standard drink sizes. Depending on who mixes the drinks or what size container is purchased, the amount of alcohol in an alcoholic beverage could be even higher. Additionally, some drinks may have a higher concentration of alcohol. Some generally more expensive liquor can be 100, 150, or even 190 proof, 50%, 75%, or 95%. And some import beers may be 8 or 9% alcohol. Factors that affect VAC level. It all depends. People may drink the same amount of a beverage, but the percentage of alcohol in the blood depends on gender, body weight, strength of the drink, size of the drink, whether there is food in the stomach, and time spent drinking. Gender. Alcohol does not affect men and women equally. Research indicates that alcohol's effects on females tends to be stronger and last longer. This is because women produce a smaller amount of alcohol dehydrogenases, an enzyme that breaks down alcohol in the stomach. As a result, women reach a peak BAC about 20% higher than men do. Body weight. Your weight affects the percentage of alcohol in the blood. A heavier person has more body fluids with which the alcohol will mix, and thus will have a lower BAC. Strength of the drink. As discussed above, the stronger the beverage consumed, the higher the BAC will rise. Size of size of drink. A larger drink will contain more alcohol and result in a higher BAC than a smaller drink of the same alcoholic strength. For example, a 24-ounce beer contains twice as much alcohol as a 12-ounce beer of the same brand. Food. Food in the stomach does not absorb alcohol, but it can slow the rate at which alcohol is absorbed. But all the alcohol consumed gets into the blood eventually. Trying to prevent becoming intoxicated by drinking only on a full stomach may result in a well-fed drunk. Time spent drinking. The faster a drinker consumes alcohol, the more quickly BAC will reach its peak. Spreading out drinking over time will result in a lower peak BAC, other factors being equal. For example, the BAC would reach a higher level if a person had 3 drinks in 1 hour than if a person had 1 drink each hour for 3 hours. Elimination of alcohol. 3 ways. Once alcohol reaches the bloodstream, the body immediately goes about removing it. It does so in 3 ways. Breath. Approximately 8% of alcohol is eliminated by breathing, exhalation. This is why you might be able to detect the odor of an alcoholic beverage on a person's breath. Sweat. About 2% of alcohol is eliminated by sweating. It may be possible to detect the odor of an alcoholic beverage on a person's body. Oxidation. The majority of alcohol, 90%, is removed by the liver as it burns up the alcohol through the process of oxidation. Sorry you can't see this very well, but it reads BAC in time. Some drinkers try all sorts of things to sober up. In reality, coffee, fresh air, exercise, and cold showers will not help. Neither will sleep. Time is the only thing that will sober you up. It takes a lot longer than most people think for the body to eliminate alcohol. In fact, it takes between 1 1/4 and 1 1/2 hours or longer for the body to eliminate the alcohol contained in one standard drink. While some very large males, over 250 pounds, can eliminate this amount of alcohol in about 1 hour, it takes much longer in everyone else. The figure below depicts a drinking scenario that demonstrates the actual rate of elimination. Say if a person starts drinking at 9 p.m. and continues to drink until 1:30 a.m., drinking at a rate of about 2 drinks per hour. This graph depicts the scenario, showing the alcohol level on the left axis and the time of day along the bottom axis. By 1:30 a.m., the drinker has reached a BAC of about 0.14%. Note the alcohol level continues to rise for at least 30 minutes after drinking has stopped. This is because it takes a while for alcohol to be fully absorbed into the bloodstream, causing this drinker's BAC to rise even more. By 2 a.m., the drinker's BAC has reached a peak and the body continues its effort to eliminate the alcohol at an average elimination rate of about 0.015% per hour. At 7:30 a.m. the next morning, this drinker will still have a BAC of 0.08. This drinker is still legally intoxicated, and this could be of great concern if this person chooses to drive to work school, or elsewhere. The elimination of alcohol continues, but the drinker is still impaired 0.05% BAC at 9:30 a.m. It is not until 1 o'clock in the afternoon the drinker's alcohol level is back down to zero. Even at that point, the drinker could still be impaired by the effects of a hangover. The bottom line is that it takes much longer for the body to eliminate alcohol than most people think. That is one reason it is so important to separate alcohol from driving. In fast, out slow. As you can see, the body takes in alcohol quickly and gets rid of it slowly. If a person drinks more alcohol in 1 hour than the body can get rid of in that hour, the person's BAC starts to climb. The greater the BAC, the more intoxicated the person becomes. How to control the effects of alcohol? As a pedestrian, passenger, or driver, you may have to deal with the problem of alcohol and traffic safety, whether you drink or not. There are all there are ways to control alcohol rather than letting it control you or your friends. In fact, if you are less than 21 years of age, it is illegal in all states for you to buy, possess, or consume alcoholic beverages. But what if circumstances are such that alcohol becomes a factor you have to deal with? For example, suppose you are 21 or traveling with someone who is 21. You attend a wedding reception or other celebration, and you or your companion decides to drink. How can you protect yourself from becoming another alcohol related statistic? Any amount will impair. First of all, remember that drinking any amount of alcohol will impair driving ability. Your safest option is not to drink and drive, and to not ride with a driver who has been drinking. Instead, get someone else to drive, someone who is 100% sober. Limit your drinking. Other than not drinking and driving, the best way to reduce risk is to severely limit and control drinking. As a rule of thumb, no one should consume more than one drink per hour. Some people should drink less. How can you control drinking? Use the key factors of weight, time, and amount. Control drinking. Controlled drinking is a common way for adults to limit alcohol consumption. Know that this strategy is unreliable because once you have started drinking, your judgment of what your limit is becomes distorted due to alcohol's effects on judgment. The following controlled drinking techniques can help a drinker minimize his or her BAC and avoid impaired driving. Know your limit. Adults who consume a drink, I'm sorry, adults who choose to drink should know their limit and keep to it. Drink slowly. If, as an adult, you choose to drink, make a conscious effort to sip drinks rather than drink them quickly. To make a drink last longer, add ice or mix it with soda. Some drinkers make or request half strength drinks to limit the amount of alcohol. Alternate between alcoholic and non alcoholic beverages. By alternating between alcohol and non alcoholic beverages, your BAC remains lower than it would be if you consumed only alcoholic beverages. Set a limit in advance. Because alcohol affects judgment, you cannot expect to be able to tell when you have had enough. You need to set a limit in advance. Avoid pushing impairment. Stay below your limit. It is harder to stop drinking if you become impaired. Being impaired means that self control is reduced and their ability to make decisions about how to act is impaired. Stick to the limit. You should not drink more just because you do not feel the effect of the first drink or two. Alcohol is like a sunburn. When you begin to feel it, it's already too late. Do not try to keep pace with others. If you are drinking, set your own pace rather than drinking to keep up with others. Stop drinking and switch to non alcoholic beverages when you reach your limit or sooner. And remember the rule of thumb: no more than one drink per hour. Watch for signs. Some people recognize signs that they have had too much to drink. These signs may include speaking louder than usual, feeling warm or flushed, being overly relaxed, feeling drowsy, feeling dizzy, or having difficulty walking or talking. Pay attention to the message sent by these signs. Stop drinking. Get a drink. Get a grip. Monitor your condition and feelings. Take into account your mood, your physical health, the situation you are in, any medication you may be taking, or other relevant factors. Recognize that getting a grip on yourself becomes more difficult the more you drink. Play it safe by having a non drinking friend keep an eye on you and drive you home if necessary. Use time. There is drinking time and there is non drinking time. You should stop drinking soon enough to allow your body time to get rid of the alcohol consumed. The body can reduce BAC by about 0.01% each hour. In general, you should drink less than one drink an hour, and you should allow at least 1.5 hours for each drink to leave the body. Be a responsible host. Hosting. Everyone shares the responsibility for keeping drinkers from driving. However, the person who hosts a party or other social gathering assumes extra responsibility. The host generally knows who is coming, who drinks, who drives, and who is most likely to drive after drinking. The host is usually knows the condition of guests when they leave. The host therefore shares the blame if a guest is involved in a crash, is arrested, or arrives home drunk. It is the host or the host family who will get the angry phone calls, have to talk to the police, be called to appear in court, or possibly be sued or charged with an offense. The host is legally responsible for ensuring only those legally old enough are served or consumed alcohol. Decide in advance. If you are going to try to control the drinking of others, you must recognize that you have a responsibility to prevent your friends from drinking to excess. You must be willing to brave the resistance of the excessive drinker and others in the group. Be a real friend. In making these decisions, it may be helpful to know that people who drink excessively seldom remember much the next day. Those who do are likely to thank you for sparing them a hangover or worse. Get help. Before the party starts, enlist a few friends to help with keeping other friends from drinking too much, assisting in cutting off people who have had too much, helping if somebody tries to drink after being cut off, taking charge of serving drinks to prevent others from drinking too much. Set a limit. To control the drinking of others, set a limit in advance on the number of drinks that anyone may be served. If you know that a particular person is sensitive to alcohol or might cause problems, set a lower limit for him or her. Know the signs. Remember that one of the first things alcohol affects is judgment, including the ability to determine the effect of the alcohol is having. People who have had too much to drink generally do not recognize it. If they do, they are not likely to admit it. Therefore, it is important for you to be able to recognize signs of impairment: loud talking or slurred speech, dropping things or spilling drinks, walking unsteadily, using hands for support, drowsiness, perspiring or turning pale or red in the face. Any behavior that is unusual for the person is a possible sign. For example, if a normally loud person becomes quiet, it could be a sign of excessive drinking. Prevent overdrinking. Preventative efforts may be more effective than trying to influence how much your friends drink. A little preparation can go a long way toward preventing trouble. Preparation tips include Control the supply. Do not have a lot of alcohol easily available. Putting the supply out all at once tends to encourage people to drink everything and makes it hard to keep track of how much is consumed. Set out a limited amount of alcohol. Offer alternative beverages. Offer non-alcoholic beverages. Many people feel more comfortable at a party if they are holding a drink. That drink can just as easily be a soda. Use standard amounts. Help people keep track of how much they drink. Provide a shot glass, 1 ounce, to measure standard amounts of liquor. Have small 4-ounce glasses for wine. This helps everyone keep track of the number of drinks consumed, and whoever is serving will have an easier time controlling the supply of alcohol. Space drinks. If you offer alcoholic beverages, try to space drinks out over time to keep consumption down. Do not pass the bottle. Passing the bottle encourages excessive drinking. Some people might feel they have to take a swig each time the bottle is passed, even if they do not necessarily want to. Do something else. Involve your friends in activities other than drinking, dancing, games, except drinking games, anything that will force people to set their drinks down. As long as a person has a drink in hand, it is hard to avoid sipping it. Additional hosting tips include: do not encourage people to drink. Skip people who are on their way to drinking too much. Do not serve a drink to someone who already has one. Doing so encourages rapid drinking. Stop serving alcohol to anyone who has had enough or too much. Alternatives to drinking and driving. Just don't. The safest alternative to drinking and driving is to not drink. Remember that it is against the law for anyone less than 21 years of age to drink, buy, or possess beer, wine, or any other alcoholic beverage. Bottom line, do not drive while under the effects of alcohol. Drinking and driving is not worth the risk to you and others. If you drink, don't drive. Aside from not drinking, the next best alternative for adults who choose to drink is to separate drinking from driving. One way to do this is to let time pass. That is, allow enough time for the BAC to decrease so you are no longer under the influence of alcohol. Of course, while waiting for time to pass, you must stop drinking. Here are some other ways to separate drinking from driving. Stay home. The best way to avoid having to drive home is to not leave home in the first place. If, as an adult, you drink at home, either stay there or let someone sober drive. Agree on a designated driver. Travel with one or more friends with the understanding that the person driving will not drink. If no one was chosen in advance to drive, be sure to let the sober person drive home. Plan to stay overnight. If you are going to drink at someone's home, make it an overnight party so no one has to drive. Call someone for a ride. If you cannot drive, call a friend, parent, spouse, or relative. Even if you have to travel only a mile or two, the risk of drinking and driving is too great. Calling a family member may be awkward, but it is better than crashing or being arrested. Find a ride. If you are in no condition to drive home from a bar, restaurant, or other place, leave your car. Get a ride home from a sober friend. Call a taxi or use public transportation. You can pick up your car the next day. Temporary illnesses. Temporary illnesses can complicate driving more than people realize. A person with one eye may be safer at the wheel than a hay fever sufferer who has both eyes filled with tears. A person with diabetes is controlled by insulin. I'm sorry, a driver whose diabetes is controlled by insulin may be less of a danger than a non-diabetic person who has taken cold medicine. A person suffering from a toothache or a splitting headache is probably a greater threat than a person who has recovered from a heart attack. Effects. Many temporary illnesses affect vision and are not accompanied by dizziness. drowsiness, nausea, or pain. Any of these conditions make it difficult to concentrate on driving. In addition, illness can affect your judgment, decision making abilities, timing, and coordination. What to do? If you are ill, first determine what effects, if any, your illness will have on your ability to drive. Second, decide what steps you can take to minimize the effects. Finally, if the effects are severe or you cannot compensate for them, delay driving. Other drugs in driving. What is a drug? A drug is any substance taken by a person to achieve a better physical or mental state, real or imagined. Drug use means taking any amount of drugs under any condition, legal or illegal. Alcohol is a drug, and there are many others. For example, people consume caffeine in coffee and nicotine in tobacco and may not realize that these two are drugs. How will you how will a drug affect you? When using any drug, you should consider the risk and effects it might have on your ability to perform routine and complex tasks. You should keep your level of risk low and avoid taking drugs that interfere with anything you might do. Remember that in addition to their intended purpose, many drugs have side effects. To complicate matters, drugs can affect various people in different ways, or a drug may affect a person differently each time it is used. Prescription, over the counter, and illegal drugs. Legal drugs. Use of illegal drugs is common in the US. Generally, they are designed to address causes or symptoms of problems by changing the body's chemistry. Prescription drugs. A doctor's prescription for these drugs includes directions for use. Be sure to follow directions exactly, not only to accomplish the drug's purpose, but also to limit dangerous and undesirable side effects. Prescription drugs can be helpful when used as directed, but they can hinder your driving ability by reducing your level of alertness or ability to perform complex tasks. Do not use prescription drugs that are prescribed for other people. Over the counter, non prescription drugs. Available without a prescription, over the counter drugs can include anything from aspirin to cold pills, cough syrup, and sleeping aids. By law, these drugs must provide adequate directions for use in addition to information about possible side effects. Whether a drug is prescribed by a doctor or obtained over the counter, always read the label carefully, especially if you intend to drive. Some may cause drowsiness or otherwise impair driving ability. If you have a question or concern about a drug's effect, ask your doctor or pharmacist. Ask specifically how the drug could affect driving ability. Always read labels. Illegal, illicit drugs. Illegal drugs or street drugs are sold without prescription. An obvious danger in buying street drugs is not knowing what is in them. With street drugs, buyers also risk having one drug substituted for another without their knowledge. Drugs and their effects. Drugs vary by type and effect. Most drugs act on the central nervous system, which includes the brain and spinal cord. Stimulants, such as amphetamines, speed up the system, while depressants, such as tranquilizers, slow it down. Another drug family, hallucinogens, affect the way a user sees things. Below is a summary of common types of drugs and their possible effects. Amphetamines, benzodrine, dexedrine, speed, black beauties, uppers, can make the user feel more alert and self-confident. However, for drivers, these effects result in a false sense of security. Because amphetamines can keep drivers from realizing how tired they are, drivers may feel extremely confident at a time when driving abilities are actually reduced. Amphetamines also can cause loss of coordination, overexcitability, and lack of concentration. Barbiturates have have an effect similar to that of alcohol. They are usually prescribed to calm nervousness. Barbiturates can make thinking difficult and cause depression, especially when combined with alcohol. They can also cause excitability, blurred vision, reality distortion, drowsiness, and even loss of concentration. The skills important to safe driving, alertness, attention to detail, judgment, and reaction time may be affected for several hours after taking barbiturates. Tranquilizers also slow down the central nervous system. They are used by people with emotional problems, high blood pressure, epilepsy, and muscle injuries. Tranquilizers can slow reaction time, impair coordination, hinder judgment, and affect vision, all negative effects on driving. Taking a tranquilizer with alcohol combines a downer with a downer. In extreme cases, this combination can reduce blood pressure and cause the heart to stop, preventing oxygen from reaching the brain. Hallucinogens are so named because they can distort the user's sense of reality. They can cause confusion and impair judgment and reaction time. Marijuana, also called pot, grass, or weed, is a mild hallucinogen. The effects of marijuana can vary widely. It can act as a stimulant or depressant. The effects depends on the drug's strength and the user's mood and experience with the drug. Users often become drowsy and have difficulty judging time, space, and speed of movement. Some users report that they concentrate on one object at a time, ignoring all other objects. Marijuana is stored in fat cells and is eliminated very slowly, remaining detectable for up to 2 weeks after consumption. In a survey, chronic, infrequent, and former marijuana users reported that marijuana decreased their ability to judge time and slowed their reaction time. Chronic users, however, indicated that they were less affected than other users. In the same study, 65% of the infrequent and former users reported that marijuana decreased their ability to keep a vehicle under control. 18% of the chronic users reported the same problem. 75% of the infrequent and former users and 48% of the chronic users felt their ability to respond to an emergency situation was impaired. LSD, also called acid, red dragon, white lightning, blue heaven, sugar cubes, primarily affects the central nervous system but also changes mood and behavior. The effects of LSD and other hallucinogens are similar to but more extreme than marijuana. Inhalants are the fumes of paint, marker, nail polish, aerosol sprays, gasoline, or other chemical products that some people deliberately inhale to get high. Breathing such fumes, often called huffing, distorts perception and impairs judgment. Users may become dizzy or lightheaded or lose coordination. They may have hallucinations. Using inhalants is extremely dangerous. Inhalants can permanently damage the brain, kidney, and liver. They can cause unconsciousness and heart failure. They may kill the user with only one use. Stimulants are drugs that temporarily excite or accelerate the function of vital process or organ, in particular the central nervous system. Cocaine, including crack and rock, is a stimulant and a narcotic. Cocaine impairs judgment, distorts reality, and hinders concentration. In small doses, the drug causes feelings of joy and delight. Moderate doses may produce violent stimulation, hallucinations, and paranoia. Cocaine can affect a driver's coordination, cause overexcitability, and produce a false sense of alertness. Cocaine also hinders vision. Users report increased sensitivity to light, difficulty focusing, and blurred vision. Cocaine is addictive and can cause serious, painful withdrawal symptoms when use is discontinued. Narcotics, morphine, opium, heroin, depresses the central nervous system and can produce a wide range of unwanted side effects. The user can become incoherent and dizzy and experience nausea and vomiting. Narcotics Narcotics use can lead to both physical and mental drug dependence. Drivers using narcotics may experience a wide range of effects, from hallucinations and confusion to drowsiness and slowed reaction times. As with cocaine, when the supply is cut off, the user usually develops serious and painful withdrawal symptoms. Combined drugs. What are the effects of taking two or more drugs at the same time? The result may be a synergis- synergistic effect, more than just 1 plus 1. This means that the combined effect is greater than the sum of the two effects separately. Synergism is not a rare occurrence. For example, a beer and another depressant may produce a synergistic effect. Anytime another drug is combined with alcohol, the effects may be different from those expected if either drug is taken alone. Combined drugs in, I'm sorry, Combining drugs increases the risk of harmful and unexpected effects. One joint of marijuana plus two beers equals six beers. Drugs and their effect on driving. Alcohol, drugs, and crashes. Numerous studies have shown how alcohol contributes to driving related injuries and death. Less research has been done on the role of prescription, over the counter, and illegal drugs in traffic crashes. However, there is no doubt that drugs, whether used alone or with alcohol, are a major driving danger. Testing for drug use. Field sobriety tests are used to detect drug impairment and drug impaired drivers. Like alcohol use tests, these screening procedures involve assessing a person's balance, coordination, eye movements, and concentration. Besides alcohol, the drug most often found in the bodies of crash victims is marijuana. Studies of drugs and driving. Research into the link between drug use and motor vehicle crashes has expanded in recent years. Research into drugs and driving indicates that at least one out of seven fatally injured drivers has some drug in his or her system at the time of the crash. About half of fatal crash victims who have drugs in their systems also have VACs high enough to impair their driving abilities. Young driver alcohol related crashes are more likely to involve another drug than crashes that are not alcohol related. Additional research. A Canadian research study offered additional findings. The study involved about 500 car crash victims who were tested for both illegal and legal drugs and found that overall about 41% of the victims had been using drugs other than alcohol. About 25% had used at least one drug but not alcohol. About 15% had been using alcohol in combination with one or more other drug. The most often used drug, other than alcohol, were marijuana and tranquilizers, followed by cocaine, narcotics, and barbiturates. Many of the victims also tested positive for drugs found in common over the counter cold medications. Marijuana and driving. Aside from alcohol, marijuana is the most widely used drug among young people. Studies indicate that marijuana users make more driving errors and are arrested more often for traffic violations than non users. More specifically, tests using driving simulators suggest that marijuana's greatest impact is on a driver's ability to recognize and respond to dangerous situations. Marijuana and new users. Marijuana's impact on driving may be greatest for new users who also are new drivers. These people are unaccustomed to the drug's effects and at the same time inexperienced at handling the challenges of driving. As a result, by combining drugs and driving, they sharply increase the likelihood of a collision. About drug use, take any drug with caution. Pills are produced and used by the ton, and one out of every four Americans takes some kind of drug every day. The yearly production of barbiturates alone could supply more than 10 doses for every man, woman, and child in the United States. It is in everyone's best interest to think carefully about the use of all drugs, legal and illegal. Prescription medications and even over the counter drugs can cause drowsiness and slow reaction time. They can also impair coordination and concentration. That is why taking any drug requires caution and good sense, especially if you intend to drive. Here are some points to keep in mind. Read labels and follow directions. Read the label carefully before you use a medicine. If you have a question, ask your doctor or pharmacist. Check the medicine's expiration date too. Old drugs can be ineffective or even harmful. Know a drug's effect. Find out from your doctor or pharmacist if a drug is likely to affect your driving ability. Ask about other possible side effects too. Avoid excessive drug use. Do not take drugs when you do not have to, and never exceed a drug's recommended dosage. Avoid dangerous drug combinations. Remember the synergistic effect. Check with your doctor or pharmacist before taking one or more drugs at a time. Do not take someone else's medicine. A doctor prescribes a drug for a specific patient under a certain set of conditions. Taking medicine meant for someone else is illegal and can be harmful. Do not take illegal drugs. Avoid all illegal drugs and do not underestimate the dangers of gateway drugs. Research studies show that using drugs such as alcohol, marijuana, tobacco, or inhalants may open the gate to drug problems. One drug may lead to others or to increase drug use. If you are thinking, it will not happen to me, I can control it, think again. Everyone with a drug problem started off thinking that way. It is up to you. As a driver, it is your responsibility to consider how any drug may affect your alertness, judgment, vision, concentration, or coordination. If you are going to drive, avoid taking drugs that affect your driving ability. Alternatives to mixing drugs and driving. Abstaining. You already know the safest alternatives to drinking and driving is abstinence. The same principle applies to other drugs and driving. Here are some other suggestions for protecting yourself and others from the dangers of drugs. Do not ride with a driver who is using drugs. If you are about to get into someone else's vehicle and you see evidence of drug use, stop. Do not get into the vehicle. Find another ride. If a driver begins using drugs while you are already on the road, insist that he or she stop and let you out of the vehicle as soon as safely possible. Then call a friend or relative to pick you up. Do not let passengers use drugs. Your vehicles, your rules. You do not need to explain, apologize, or make excuses. Drug use is dangerous and illegal. Do not allow it in your vehicle. Do not give in to peer pressure. Do not let the words or actions of others cause you to do something you know you should not. What other people put into their bodies is their choice. What you put into your body is yours. Anyone who pressures you to do something risky or illegal is not acting as a friend. Do not put yourself in difficult situations. If you know in advance that people will be using drugs at a party or other social occasion, think hard about whether you should attend. If you know you are in trouble, get help. If you have a drug problem or think you may be developing one, take action immediately. Talk to your parents, teacher, counselor, or doctor. Join a support group. Contact one of the many organizations that help people who are having trouble with alcohol or other drugs. Some of these organizations are listed in the phone book or on the internet. You can find others through your local library.